man. But back to this now. My name's Mark McQuown. I'm the regional sales manager for Garmin Marine Electronics. I've been in the marine electronics business for over 30 years. I started way back with Lowrance when they had papergraphs and flashers. So I've had the opportunity to make my living selling something that I really enjoy. I mean, I just got into this because I was a fisherman. And I happened to win a tournament in a small lake in PA, and Lowrance had people there, and they put me on as a pro staffer. And a couple years after that, they came out with the Eagle brand. I'm not sure if you guys can even remember Eagle anymore, but they had Eagle waterproof fish finders, which was a flasher, and they had the Eagle Mach 1 and Mach 2 papergraphs. So I went to work for Lowrance at that time as an Eagle salesman and worked my way up at Lowrance. And then I left there 8 years ago when Garmin contacted me, and now I've been with Garmin when Gary Burrell, which is Gar, and Garmin, two electrical engineers, started the company to make GPS for aviation. And aviation is still a big part of Garmin, very big. You know, Garmin's a public company, and last year they did over $3 billion in sales. So they are in a lot of markets. You know, we do aviation, still one of our top ones. Automotive is still big, even though a lot of people think that you don't sell many car GPSs because it's in your cell phone and everywhere else. They still did over $1 billion in automotive GPS last year, which still amazes me to no end. They're into outdoor, which is handheld GPSs, which they still do, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of those in a year. And the watch business, all these wearables. Last year they did $800 million in wearables, which still blows my mind that they sell that many watches. That's more than we do in the marine side. And our chief executive officer told me last year at the sales meeting, he said, "Mark, there's a lot more risks than there are boats." Well, he's right, because the wearable business is extremely big. But what that does for me in the marine side, we've got hundreds of engineers at Garmin, hundreds. If you saw their main headquarters, there's over 5,000 people work there every day. It's massive, massive. It goes on for city blocks. The aviation guys help the marine guys help the aviation guys, the wearable guys help the marine guys. So it's given us the opportunity to come up with some really dynamic products. And the number one thing that Garmin is extremely critical about is dependability. And that comes from aviation. You know, the FAA has a big facility in Olathe, Kansas, where Garmin's headquarters is. And that's why Garmin is in Olathe, Kansas, because they started in aviation. They're in our facility every day, looking at our manufacturing processes, how the products work. Products that go in an airplane have a lot of real strict requirements. I mean, really strict. There can be no distortion on that display from polarized glasses. All pilots wear polarized glasses. We do the same enhancements on our marine products that we do in aviation to eliminate any glare, which is a huge, huge advantage. You can stand way to the side of any Garmin Marine product, you can see it. Even our $119 unit, you can see it from any angle, no distortion. That's a big plus. Our marine autopilots, we now have an aviation AHRS in it to eliminate the compass ball that came from our aviation autopilots. So they integrated those together. So it gives us a lot of opportunities to work together in other fields that we own. And Garmin, because of the size of the company, and they are an extremely profitable company, they look for other companies to buy. You know, we bought Tritronics for the dog collar business because they had some of the best dog collars that were out there. Garmin bought them. We bought recently Navionics. You know, Garmin does their own cartography. We have our own survey boats. We build our own maps from all different sources. Well, Navionics is one of the world leaders in marine mapping, so we bought them. So now we're going to be able to integrate Navionics into our cartography to make it even better and better and better. So it's a company that has a lot of resources. They are very, very good policies as far as product reliability. Our failure rates on marine products is less than 1%. That's extremely low. They build state-of-the-art products, and they become leaders in every market that they want to go after. They become a leader, hands down. I mean, they are a leader to make sure that they continue to grow and grow and grow. So it's a great company to work for. There's all kinds of great new products constantly being developed. They have beta testers that test their marine products for almost a year before we put them on the market. So that gives us the opportunity to get the software bugs out of it. And we all know about software bugs. So they have guys out there just pushing buttons day after day after day to make sure these products are dependable before it gets to the consumer. And believe me, a lot of our competitors do not do that. I know for a fact. So anyway, Garmin's a great company. They make great products. Their customer service is excellent. And they just continue to grow and grow and grow. Let me see how to work this thing. Okay, that's a picture of me. Like I said, one of my favorite passions is hunting and fishing. I just happen to be one of those lucky people that got into an industry that I can make my living at, and it's been great. I mean, I spend more time on the water by accident than most people do on purpose. You know, taking dealers out in the summer, demoing products, actually going out with their engineers, coming up with new features and functions and how you're going to use it as a fisherman. Because one thing I learned about engineers, there's very few of them that are serious fishermen. Very few, and they love to have things that push all kinds of weird buttons and all these features that a fisherman probably never going to use. So we keep telling them, no guys, you don't need that. But we are lucky enough to have one guy, Troy Simonton, that is a die-hard fisherman and a very good engineer, and he does all of our transducer work. This guy makes transducers in his own garage at home, just coming up with different ideas that Garmin doesn't want to spend the time when he's at work, but he comes up with these fantastic ideas and takes it to Garmin, and they pay him a little extra for his efforts at night at home. But he is a fantastic engineer and a very good fisherman. So what's it take to land a big fish? Is it a rod and a reel? Is it lures? Or is it electronics? Before you can land a big fish, you got to find them. So electronics is extremely critical in locating fish, so you know where to spend more time fishing and less time messing around. And come on in. And the electronics today are so sensitive, and they do such a great job at finding fish. You should never spend any time fishing if you don't see them on the screen, because they're not there. I mean, it's simple. They are not there. You know, years ago when you had flashers, it was really hard to read a flasher. You had to be looking at it. It was instantaneous. It was either there, it was gone. So it was hard for guys to really sit over fish, but you used them more for finding drop-offs and weed beds and structure. But today's products now, they're so sensitive, you can see the fish on the screen as plain as day if you know what you're looking for. GPS, you know, this was a system that the government gave us years ago now. And I remember when I was first in the business and I ran a charter boat in Lake Ontario, we had Loran. And Loran worked some days and some days it didn't, but it was really hard to operate. I remember on the boat that I ran, it was a Micrologic Loran. You had to hit 9 buttons to save one waypoint. I mean, it was a freaking nightmare. And the accuracy was okay, but not great. When GPS became available, everybody became a navigator because it worked 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, no matter where you are in the face of the earth. I mean, it is a system that the government gave us for free, believe it or not. Our tax dollars gave us something we didn't have to pay for. And they continue to improve it every year. They spend billions of dollars a year updating these satellites to keep them in orbit. They're up to Block 3 satellites now that are more sensitive, putting out more information, more data. So the government did all the fishermen and hunters a real big favor with GPS and people driving their car. And I remember years ago going to see dealers, you had to call them up and get directions. And I just plug in the address and whew, you're there. So GPS was a huge advantage for everybody because there isn't a person alive that doesn't use it for something. I mean, you see women using it on their phone to get to different stores, addresses. I mean, it's a fantastic system that just works every day. And when we first came out with it, the U.S. had the first GPS system. Now there's Galileo in Europe. There's GLONASS in Russia. I mean, there's so many satellites flying around up there. One of these days there's going to be a collision. I don't know how they keep them out of each other's path, but more and more countries keep putting up GPS satellites, which makes it better for us now because, you know, our units will work with GLONASS, the Russian satellites, so you get better geography fixes on the satellites to even get better accuracy. So it really makes it a big advantage for all of us. You know, when GPS first came available, there was no electronic cartography. You had XY plotters. That was it. But it let you see where you were. It would give you navigational information, ground speed, course over ground, heading, bearing, all that type of information. But there was no electronic charts. If you wanted to go to a specific waypoint, you could recall the waypoint, be an X on the screen. It would give you a straight line to that waypoint. Boom, that was it. That was okay as long as you knew what was between you and that waypoint. If there was an island in the way and you weren't watching, you could run right over it because GPS doesn't know whether you're on water or land. It's going to give you a straight line, the shortest distance to your destination. So once electronic cartography came out, now everybody's a navigator because you can see where you are on the map. If there's an island in the way, you can see. You can just navigate around it. But electronic cartography in the beginning was extremely expensive. All these little data cards in the beginning to go from Maine to Florida and buy the electronic charts, it was $2,500 just for that area you wanted to go to. $2,500. Today, Garmin builds cartography in all the GPS maps and echo maps that we make. From the factory, you get our standard cartography for free. So you could go from Maine to Florida with our Blue Chart G2 for free. It wouldn't cost you a penny. It's already built into units. And we continue to add more and more data into the product so that you can get, really good cartography right out of the box. You can walk out of the store, put it on your boat, and go fishing because the chart's already built in. Up until Garmin started doing this, nobody offered free cartography like that. Now some of our competitors are bundling cards and stuff to add some cartography with the unit, but they charge you more for the unit in the long run. But at Garmin, we still include the cartography at no extra cost. Our Echo maps, you can buy them either with coastal cartography or inland cartography. Our GPS maps come with both already preloaded. So it's really good cartography, and they continue to build on it every year. I mean, our cartography groups, there's hundreds of people work there making maps all day long. You can sit in your garage, turn your unit on, you can start looking for fish just using the cartography. Look for drop-offs, different areas of structure. I mean, you don't even have to be on the water. You can spend a couple hours before you get to a lake you've never been on and find the spots to go to just as soon as you get there. So electronic cartography was a huge advantage for fishermen, and it really lets us spend a lot more time in productive areas without running around the lake just scouting and looking. We offer features like depth range shading. If you know the fish are holding between 10 and 20 feet or 15 and 20, you can set those different color schemes up on the screen so you can look at a glance and see what depth range you're in. It's a lot of neat new features that you just keep continuing to build on this electronic cartography, which today is just unbelievable. 3D views of the bottom, taking the cartography information, gives you a 3D image of the bottom, and there's just a lot of neat features that you can have, and a lot of this is in the unit right from the factory at no extra cost. Split screens, combination screens, you can split into 2, 3, and 4 different screens so you can look at all this data at the same time. That's where a bigger screen comes in handy. The bigger the screen, the bigger the segments are when you split the screen. A 5-inch screen is going to show you the same data as a 9, but if when you split the screen, it's going to be a lot smaller, so it doesn't give you as much information at one time. 2 years ago, we came out with a feature called Quick Draw. I mean, we all know that there's thousands and thousands of lakes in this country that have never been surveyed and never will be. They're not big enough. But if you're one of those fishermen that's on a smaller body of water that doesn't have a good map, you can turn on Quick Draw and it makes its own map in 1-foot contours. And it's free. It's just a built-in feature. Any body of water you want to go to, you can use Quick Draw. Our Striker Series fish finders that came out 2 years ago were really nice fish finders with built-in GPS, but there was no mapping capabilities whatsoever. It gave you the XY plotter like you had in the original days of GPS. This year now we added Quick Draw to our Strikers. You can survey 2 million acres. 2 million. There's nobody in this room who's ever going to survey 2 million acres. You can go a whole lot of places around the United States and never hit that many acres. But we added that, and guess what? We didn't raise the price 1 penny. So now our new Strikers, not only do they have GPS, and now you can make your own maps for the areas they're at, and they're very inexpensive. I mean, a Striker 4 with Quick Draw, with GPS, traditional, and Clearview Sonar is $179 retail. Map cards cost more than that. For some of our competitors, you got to pay more than that for a map card. So we've come out with some great new products with some great features, and we're not raising the prices to make it even better for the consumer. But Quick Draw is a fantastic feature, and it really works good. It really does. You just turn it on and go fish. You can go back to your Sonar screen and keep fishing. It's going to keep surveying all by itself. If you shut it off, go back the next day, turn it back on, it'll pick up where it stopped. It won't overdraw the stuff that it already did. It'll just keep filling it in better and better. It does a super, super job. Here's a small segment of Quick Draw. See, it's 1-foot contours. It gives you the map like you would buy in a Navionics card. And it's free. Now here's another feature. This is on our Lakeview HD Ultra cards. We do sell an optional card that has a little bit better cartography, but the main thing you're buying is more features. You get above and below 3D. You get this type of an image where it's like pulling the water out of the lake, and you can see where the creek channels and everything run. So it adds some features like that. Auto guidance. If you're in a lake that you're not familiar with, and maybe it's dark and you want to go to a different spot in the lake, you just touch it and say go to, and it plots the course all by itself. Taking into consideration the depth of water your boat draws, any height requirements, and the depth of water. And auto guidance never misses. Never. I mean, I've had so many people try to stump it, it knows. I mean, because you're taking what that unit tells you and navigating that course that it's going to lay out there, and it never misses. We have that for saltwater as well, and it's really another sweet feature. But that you do pay for with the Ultra cards. Here's one of Garmin's survey boats. We've got 5 of these boats going around the country. They're uglier than sin, but they do a really good job. They have this huge transducer up front. It's on this big metal arm that comes down. It's a survey transducer. The transducers alone cost over $100,000, but it does an excellent job. And I was on one of those boats one day, and you talk about boring. Oh. And one of Garmin's rules with these guys running these boats, there's a Coast Guard licensed captain on there running a boat, and then there's engineering techs in there running the computers and everything, but they're not allowed to have any fishing equipment on the boat. Oh. None. So you can't even troll while you're out there. It's like boom, 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 boom. Oh my God. Do that for 8 hours a day? Oh Lord. Yeah, that's not me. You did get to see a lot of cool stuff on the Sonar, but you're not allowed to have any fishing equipment on the boat at all. So anyway, Sonar. You know, Sonar's been around since World War II. You know, and this is the same for everybody's unit. What we talk about now on the Sonar side, I don't care if it's a Garmin, a Lowrance, a Raymarine, a Humminbird, it's all the same. Sonar stands for Sound Navigation and Ranging. It was originally developed by the government to track enemy submarines during World War II. It's just gotten better and better over the years. I mean, it sends out a sound wave through the water till it hits any object of a different density than water, bounces an echo back up, picked up by the transducer, sent to the receiver, and displayed on a screen. In the early days, it was just a flasher. In the early Navy products, it was just ping, ping, ping. I mean, it was very, very limited what it could tell you. I mean, in the original years, I mean, if it picked up a submarine, it was pinging back a signal so they knew what it was. But it didn't draw a picture of it like it would today. But that's the same for everybody's unit. And believe me, like I said, I've been in this business over 30 years. Nobody, I don't care who it is, makes a perfect sonar unit. Nobody. Because you're still working with sound waves. You know, it's not an X-ray, it's not a camera, it's sound waves. So there's limitations. And there's room for interpretation. Believe me, there's just no perfect sonar unit built by anybody, but they have come a long ways from paper graphs and flashers. It's unbelievable. Blank screen, nothing there. The first 1/4 inch of any sonar unit is the current information. So many people think the bigger the screen, the more information you're going to see. That's not true. On any sonar unit, it's the first 1/4 inch what's in the cone angle directly under your boat. And as you move, that information is going to get farther away. Right now, it's 5 seconds ago where that was. Boom, 10 seconds ago. So screen width has nothing to do with current information. Always remember, it's that first 1/4 inch, which is your A scope. The current data is on the first right-hand side of that screen. As it goes across the screen, it's getting farther and farther behind you. So remember, when you're turning around, it was back there. I mean, I carry marker buoys in my boat all the time. If I see something on the screen, boom, that I want to stay on, I drop that buoy immediately. So by the time I get turned around, I know where it was, because it can be 50 or 100 yards by the time you get turned around. But screen width has nothing to do with current information. And that is such a misnomer by so many people over the years. Fish show up, we all know that. Targets in the water column. I mean, there they are. Now, one of the most important settings on any sonar unit, and I don't care whose it is gain. Remember, sensitivity or gain is the same thing, and this is like the volume on a radio. If you have the radio volume down too low, the radio's on, but you can't hear anything. Same with a sonar unit. Remember, that unit is just a pair of ears sitting on your boat waiting to hear an echo come back up. It's still sound waves. Here's that echo, boom, displays it on the screen. Well, if it's too low, it's not going to hear it. You're not going to see anything. Right now, gain is up more. Now you can start seeing some targets. It's 50%. If you get it too high, it saturates the receiver and the whole screen goes crazy, just like a radio again. Turn it up too high, it's blaring in your ears, you can't stand it. So gain is a very, very important setting when you're looking for individual fish. That setting in the beginning was not good in the automatic mode. It's getting better, but it's still not perfect. So I adjust gain a lot. When I'm looking for individual fish, I'll fiddle with it, and I mean just a couple steps at a time can make a huge difference when you're looking for individual targets. All the other settings, like your depth range, works fine. Depth gets deeper, boom, it changes. Gets shallower, boom, it changes. But that sensitivity setting is still one that needs some tweaking by the operator. Right there's a good setting. See, structure on the bottom, individual stack of fish here, bait fish. I mean, when you have it set properly, you're going to see that information that you want to see, and that's what you're paying for. Okay, when sonar was first developed, you had your traditional sonar, which everybody's had it. It would give you real good target separation. It was a single frequency. It would either be 50 kilohertz, 77, 192, 200. There was a lot of different frequency ranges, but traditional sonar works on one single frequency. With traditional sonar, it sends that signal down through the water. It's a fixed frequency. It's bouncing off these targets right here, sends the echo back up. Boom. Blends them together as one. Now, Chirp became available at prices that consumers could afford just a couple years ago. I mean, Chirp's been around for a long time, but up until the last couple years, just the Chirp transducer was over $4,000, so not many people could afford it. And what Chirp does, it stands for compressed high intensity radiated pulse. Instead of pinging that single frequency like traditional sonar, it's pinging a range of frequencies. In some cases it could be 10 frequencies, our echo maps ping 85 frequencies, our GPS maps unlimited frequencies, but it sends out that signal instead of ping, it's going brrr, sending all this information through the water, so it's bouncing echoes back off the individual targets. So the advantage for the consumer, you get better target separation and better depth penetration and a lot less interference. And you don't have to do anything to do it, it's just built into the unit. It's a great advantage that is now available to consumers, and I wouldn't buy anything today new that wasn't Chirp. You're crazy if you do, because right now it's just available. And be careful though, because some companies advertise Chirp and it may be Chirp in 1 or 2 frequencies, so they can still say it's Chirp. Even our strikers are Chirp in 10 frequencies. So if you're going to buy any sonar, you just ask them how many frequencies it's Chirp, and if they say they don't know, it's because it's not very many. But Chirp was a huge advantage for the fishermen, and to see the clarity of the screens with less interference, better depth penetration. We've got some GPS map footage of showing water depth in, I think it's like 1,600 feet of water. It's unbelievable. See, with Chirp, you get a lot better target separation. It'll separate those individual fish out of balls of bait fish. I mean, it does a really good job. So it's transmitting across a frequency band, 10 to 100 times more energy in the water, so it's separating those individual targets. Like here and here, it's going to show both of them. Like here and here, instead of blending them together as one. And that's the big plus of Chirp over traditional sonar. In this same area here, we had 2 dolphin. With traditional sonar, it's going to bounce back one signal. With Chirp, it's going to send a signal off of both of them and be able to display them both, one on top of the other. So as for the fishermen, it is a huge plus. Instead of wondering if it's just a ball of bait, if you see individual fish separated out, then you know it's individual bait or individual fish, not just a ball of bait. Here's just some screens showing traditional versus Chirp, and you can see how much clearer the Chirp screen is. Let's see all the interference here. Over there's virtually none. Target separation, see a big ball here, see individual fish there. It's just a really big advantage for the consumer, and now it's built into the unit, so it doesn't cost you any more money. Here's another example of showing real clear Chirp screens with target separation that was never heard of with traditional sonar. And in the early days of traditional sonar, 50 kilohertz was good for depth penetration and a real wide cone angle, but it wasn't good for target separation. So on the Great Lakes, we'd use 50 kilohertz to be able to track downrigger weights. If you wanted to use the high frequency, to be able to separate the individual targets. Well, now it's all built into one, so it does just a fantastic job. Some more examples of Chirp versus traditional. Right here, 17,508 feet of water. And that's how deep Chirp will go. I mean, none of us here are going to go fishing that deep of water, but it'll go that far. It's an incredible technology that now is affordable by everybody. Garmin transducers have a lot wider bandwidth, which means we're pinging more frequency, so the bandwidth is a lot longer than our competitors by a long shot. And again, that's because we're making these transducers ourselves now. Higher the bandwidth, the more power it's going to be in the water to get more target separation, more echoes coming back. A lot more signal returns. They didn't separate each individual target. and the signals are much cleaner. I mean, the screens are so much clearer. I mean, I've seen them in the last 5 years just go from good to fantastic, and they just keep getting better. They sweep the entire range of frequencies. Like I say, our strikers are doing 10 frequencies, the echo maps are 85 frequencies, and the GPS maps are unlimited, hundreds of frequencies. Instead of that ping, it's brrr through the water. And it doesn't scare the fish, believe me. We don't skip frequencies like a lot of manufacturers. They'll do 50 kilohertz, 90, 120. We do the whole range to be able to get signals back of every one of those frequencies. And you know, in the saltwater environment, certain species of fish show up different at different frequencies. It's amazing to talk to a real seasoned saltwater captain. They can tell you in a lot of cases what kind of fish they're actually seeing because they show up different from a different frequency. And those guys are really into it. The linear sweep, hitting all those frequencies, gives you a lot better target separation and resolution. It's like the keys on a piano. Right down the whole keyboard instead of boop, boop, boop. So it makes a big difference to sweep the whole frequency range. We stop ringing faster, and this is another really important factor when it comes to transducers. If you have a transducer keeps ringing, it's going to give you a lot of surface clutter. It turns on and turns off real fast to give you a short pulse length, so when you get to that surface top area just below the surface, you're going to be able to see targets in there instead of having to make a whole lot of noise. It'll be turns off and on faster, so you can get individual target separation a lot better. Eliminates the blind spot near the surface, which for us freshwater fishermen is important because a lot of times those fish are up there real close to the surface. It's like if you hit a red Solo cup, thud, turns on, turns off real quick, thud. You take a fine wine glass, bing, it's going to keep ringing. So that's the difference, shut off quick or keep ringing, and that's a big difference between our transducers and some of our competitors. They turn off and turn on really fast. Like here's somebody claiming that's a Chirp transducer versus one of ours. I mean, look at the difference, look at all that noise. Look it up here. I'm not telling you whose that is, but that's actual. I was on the water when they did that. There's Chirp and then there's not Chirp. Here's another example showing the difference between this target separation and that. There's a big difference between our Chirp and some of our competitor Chirp. And not all of our competitors are bad. Believe me, some have good, but some don't. But they're advertising that they do. Downview scanning technology. This was another huge breakthrough for the consumer. So now you can be able to distinguish structure from individual fish and from the bottom a whole lot better. Without a doubt, this is a really good feature that now everybody has it now. We call ours downview. Some call it down scan. I mean, it just depends on what manufacturer you are, but downview is a huge, huge plus and a great feature for especially freshwater fishermen. Right here is a case like you're not 100% sure what that is. For traditional, down here you can see it's the outline of a ship. I mean, it's almost like drawing a picture of what's down there. The clarity is absolutely amazing. There's the ship before it sunk. See the superstructures, you see them here. And it does a really, really good job. The fish don't really have a chance, do they? Ha! Don't we wish? You can find it, but you're not always going to catch them. Here's down view showing weeds sticking up off the bottom. You can pick out the weeds so clear now versus the old days, especially with a flash. You had all those little flashes coming and going. You had no idea what it was. With just traditional sonar, a lot of times it blends those weeds into the bottom as well. With down view or clear view, it stands up just like taking a picture. This was a car that sunk out in a lake in Ohio. You can see the outline of the car, see the fish over the top of it. I mean, it was as clear as could be. When I first saw it, I thought it was a pickup truck. See how flat that is? Well, the guy that gave me this picture also gave me that picture. There's the car when they pulled it out. And it was funny because the guy that gave it to me said it was one of his hot spots. They were catching fish on it all the time. A friend of his that worked for the sheriff's department was at his house one day and was showing him the picture. The next day they had the ramp blocked off and they came in and pulled the car out. He said, if I'd known they were going to do that, I wouldn't have told him. But look at how clear it is. And this was with an echo map. I mean, you can see the clarity, even the back of that, where the car was damaged. And that's the kind of detail you can get. And that's on a $499 unit. It's unreal. The amount of information, the detail, the clarity that these units offer today, it just blows my mind. When I think back of paper graphs and flashers, whew. You know, paper graphs are a great unit in its time, but you had to feed them paper and it got expensive. That thermal paper started going up and up and up and up and up. Side view. I mean, this one, we all know Humminbird was the first company to come out with side view. And this is another great advantage for us freshwater guys, because now instead of looking right here, you're looking way out here. That gives you a lot more information in one pass instead of having to go back and forth so often. Side view is going to show you a lot of detail. But remember, side view and clear view and down view, whatever you want to call it, they were originally designed mainly for finding structure. I mean, they'll show fish, but not as good as traditional. That's why you still want your traditional sonar as well. But in this case, there's old tires. They made a reef out of old tires and sunk them. You see how little round circles? I mean, it shows detail very, very good. Another thing about clear view and side view, they don't work good at high speed. It was never designed for that. The transducers are big, so you got to be going slow at an idle speed to get good, clear recordings. If you're going too fast, you're just going to clutter the whole screen up. Here's these 3 pipes. This is in a lake in Oklahoma. See the pipes here attached together? Right there they are. And it shows it up as clear as can be. Here's on the clear view screen. Here's on the side view. The Weiss Ferry Bridge. This is another famous bridge. Every manufacturer that has side views got this in their catalog or somewhere in their information, maybe on their website. But there's the Weiss Ferry Bridge before they flooded the lake, and there it is after they flooded the lake. It's still there. You can see it as clear as a bell. See, I think every sonar manufacturer out there is using that one. Oop. Somehow we got it twice. Oh, this is the amphitheater in Beaver Lake in Arkansas. This is before they flooded the lake. See all the different layers of this amphitheater? And there it is after it went underwater. And it gives you almost picture quality images of what's down there. So it's going to really enhance your fishing, if you're fishing specific structure or you're looking for structure like rock piles or humps that you're looking for. I mean, you can be able to see them on side view a lot faster than if you had to go over them individually. There's just a screenshot of side view, clear view, and traditional all at one. Here's a sunken boat. See the outline as plain as can be. And that's just in 9 feet of water, so it does work in shallow water as well. A lot of people ask me how deep the water has to be. It doesn't have to be real deep. There's just another split screen showing 4 different features at one time, including quick draw up here. This was out in Mille Lacs Lake in Minnesota last summer. We were out there trolling, and this is where you can see fish. These are individual walleyes here. See them here? There's one here, 3 over here. I know they're walleyes because we caught a lot of them. We kept going back and forth. I mean, that's the clarity that unit had, and we whacked them out there that day. 17 feet deep. See, on traditional, we're not seeing them. Clear view, we're not really seeing a little bait here, but on the side view, we're picking them up because the boat was scaring them enough that they were just moving off to the side just enough that you wouldn't see them until you picked them up on side view. And now side view has become affordable. We sell a striker for $4.99 that has side view, traditional, clear view, everything all built in. And when this side view first came out, you're looking at $2 grand plus to be able to get side view, and it wasn't nearly as effective as it is today. This was down in Florida 2 years ago. We do a Bass Pro has what they call Bass Pro Fishing University for their sales associates. They bring them all down to one spot down there, and we're there for a week training them. We were out on the water showing side view, and this is the outline of a boat right here. See, a lot of junk was laying on the top of it in 15 feet of water. There it is, just changing the color palette, going around one at the other side, and there's that same boat. There we're looking at it, 3 different screens. See here, we went over the top of it, so it's only showing the left side and the right side, but it's showing that boat. It's, 16, 17 feet of water. Right here, we saw a pod of dolphins went by. Look at them here. Boom, 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 boom. One over here. You can even see the shadow that they're making. And that's 16 feet of water. I mean, it works extremely well. It's not a gimmick, believe me. Side view is a real feature, and it's a great feature. Just some more examples showing clear view and side view at the same time. Weed sticking up off the bottom. See this weed sticking up here? See the shadow it's making? This is standing up like this. It's not laying down. That's why it's making that shadow. Just some more examples of side view with your chart screen up. Now, just when I thought I saw everything, when side view, clear view came out, you know, traditional sonar is around forever, then all of a sudden, bam, our engineers come up with another one called Panoptix. It's like, what in the world is this? Now, everything I just told you about traditional sonar, side view, and clear view, forget all about that. I said the first quarter of an inch, the current information. Well, now with Panoptix, it's real time. It's showing you real-time information with a phased array transducer shooting out over 100 signals at one time, getting them back at the same time. So it's giving you real-time. It's almost like a sonogram when they do on your body to look for problems with your organs. This thing is showing you real-time information. You can scan it on your trolling motor and see fish coming and going. You can throw a lure out and reel it back and you see it coming back on the screen. So this is really a huge breakthrough. The only drawback is the price.
I know. When is the price of those transducers going to come
down? Man, I hope pretty soon.
I keep checking every few months and they have not moved.
I know. They tell me it's so expensive to make it, but like everything else electronic, sooner or later they're going to find a way to get the price down, for sure. But Panoptix is absolutely an unbelievable feature using these multi-beam phased array transducers, sending these signals out. It just gives you real-time information. And this right here just shows you what way the beams are going. But in reality, it's showing you fish moving around. You can see your lures on the screen. I mean, I had a good friend of mine that owns Gamma Fishing Line. And I see him at the shows last summer. He was going to be by my house. I live by Lake Raystown in Pennsylvania. He said, well, how about taking me out and show me how that Panoptix works? I said, okay, come on. So we got in my boat, went out on this flat, and I get him up front, and I'm panning him with it. I said, see right there, there's some fish right out there. He takes his lure, throws it out there, boom, caught a 5-pound bass. I'm sold. I mean, it's almost like a stage it, but it was, there they were. He threw it up, boom, caught one. And they were 30 feet from the boat. I mean, it really does work. It's phenomenal, but it's just a little pricey. You can get 3D images of the bottom. I mean, here's some real-time information here. See these fish are swimming around on the screen here. And we came out with that Panoptix ice bundle this year, which at the St. Cloud Ice Fishing Expo, it was 2 weeks ago, which is one of the biggest in the world. It's over 30,000 people there in just a couple of days. We sold out. The amount of guys that bought those at $1,799 a piece. But the nice thing about that bundle, you can use it on your boat in the summer as well. So you got both. It'll go either way. Here's some fish right here on traditional. Here they are on Panoptix. We see you can actually see them moving around on the screen. Again, here's a Panoptix traditional, Panoptix here, traditional down here. Right here with that pink to the right, that means these fish are moving left. That pink is the movement of the water that's caused by the fish moving, and it's unbelievable. A couple of our pros. We now have over 60 pros that are endorsing Garmin products, and every year it keeps growing and growing and growing. More and more guys. Jason Christie won the Lake St. Clair tournament, one of the last ones for BASS, and he said because of Panoptix, he was following those fish and throwing tubes at them and getting them. Scott Martin's been one of the Garmin guys for years and years. Brent Chapman. Any questions? I got a little short video here I want to show you quick of that Panoptix ice bundle. I mean, that thing is really something. It's just a little pricey, but it really does work. Where is that? Here we go.
Garmin changed ice fishing forever when it unveiled Panoptix. Garmin calls Panoptix all-seeing sonar, and after seeing it in action, I have to agree. This technology is simply amazing. I'm standing over a deep hole that drops to more than 40 feet. Every winter, crappie move into this hole by the thousands, but finding them isn't always easy. I used to cut dozens, if not hundreds of holes across the area and walk from hole to hole with a traditional sonar unit to look for fish. With Panoptix Live View Forward, I scan down and sideways and can look up to 100 feet or more in any direction from a single ice hole. The Panoptix screen is simple to read. The transducer is here, the bottom is here, and these numbers indicate the distance from us. In this case, 80 feet. Now watch as I use Panoptix to scan the area around me. Here's the school of crappie. Now all I have to do is head over there, drill a few holes to fish from, and I'm on fish. Panoptix also allows me to track moving fish. In the past, I would have to drill more holes to relocate roaming schools. Like I said, ice fishing has changed forever. Stone cold fishing.
That's pretty cool. That thing works extremely well. All right. Any questions, anybody?
Do you have a flasher mode on yours?
On every one we make.
You do?
Yep, even the $119 one.
And that's,
Yep.
that's real time.
Yep, even our $119 one's got a flasher mode. For sure. I mean, that new ice bundle, it's $17.99, which it's a lot of money at one clip, but you get a $1,000 Panoptic transducer with it, you get a $600 Echo Map with it, you get the new teardrop narrow cone angle ice fishing transducer with it, the case, the battery charger and everything. So if you break it down, it's not that bad, because you can also use it on your boat in the summer. It's the same unit. So it's very versatile. And, you know, we forecasted, because it's so expensive, and Garmin's never really been big into ice fish, we forecasted 1,000 units, and we're just about sold the entire forecast already. So it really took off. If they can get the price down to $9.99, look out.
What about compatibility with Minn Kota or
They won't let us. They won't let us.
on any of your fish finders?
Nope.
Really?
No, because, you know, Minn Kota is owned by Johnson Outdoors, who also owns Humminbird, and they refuse to let us access their software. So we're going to take the next step. You'll see something from us here real soon. Be announced in July. But we keep moving onward and upwards.
I look and I don't see where.
Yeah, nope. But we got something coming. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.